cameras beyond the lens. Raz will be talking about the description, I'm going to be talking about the theory, and Raz will be talking about the application.
So in the description, I'll be discussing the history, the parts, and the types of cameras. So this was the first camera invented. It was invented in the early 1500s by a man named Alhazen. He called it the camera obscura, or the pinhole camera. And the way it worked, it would send a light through the hole and it would create an inverted image, which would then be projected on a wall. The first digital camera invented was this one. It was invented in 1975 by Steven Sasson, who was an engineer for Kodak. And the way this worked is, instead of film or a memory card like nowadays, it would store pictures on a cassette. The first film was invented in 1885 by George Eastman. The first camera to use the film was the Kodak. So the parts of the camera. The translucent screen is either a ground glass or a Fresnel lens found in a system camera that allows the user of the camera to preview the framed image in a viewfinder. The shutter controls how much light enters the lens for how long it will enter for, which is usually a split second. The mirror reflects the light into the pentaprism, and then the pentaprism will reflect it to the viewfinder so the person can see the thing that they're going to take a picture of. The lens of a camera's purpose is to bend beams of light to converge on a single point. The lens is usually made up of more than one lens, and for different scenarios you would use a different lens. So for example, you would use a telephoto lens if you're taking a picture of a mountain range because it has a long focal length. Or if you're taking a close-up portrait, you might want to use a wide-angle lens because the lens has a much shorter focal length, so it shrinks the scene in front of you. The film is where the film is stored, so this is the top view of an analog camera. And the black outline is the camera body, which is usually made out of plastic. So there are two types of cameras, analog and digital. What separates them is that analog uses plate or film to store images, while digital uses memory cards. To be more specific, there's single use, which is when you're done using the camera and the film has been processed, you would recycle the camera. Compact lens shutter, which is this one. Bridge, rangefinders, twin lens reflex because it has two lenses, one on the bottom, one on the top, and single lens reflex, which is this one. It's for the more sophisticated photographers because there's more options with taking pictures with it.
Okay, I'm going to be talking about the theory, and the theory is going to be talking about the types of lenses, information in lenses, and how do they take pictures with the lenses. So there are 5 types of lenses, which are wide-angle lens, standard lens, medium telephoto or portrait lens, telephoto, and specialized lens. So a wide-angle lens is classified as anything under 20mm. Wide-angle is 21 to 35mm, invert of digital camera, APS-C format, crop frame of DSLRs range from 10 to 24, commonly used for photographing landscape and architecture, photographing large groups of people, and close objects appear far and far objects appear close. So as you can see on this ray diagram, the object is between the both focal points, so then which the image will be further away from the lens, inverted, larger than the object, and it'll be a real image. Standard lens. The focal length range is 35 to 70mm. Its most common standard lens is fixed with 50mm lens. It's used for documentary and street photographing and moving quickly, and it captures interesting points of action. And it's roughly the same angle of a human eye sees. So in this ray diagram, you could see the object is behind the second focal point, which is further away from the lens, which then the image will be closer to the lens, inverted, smaller than the object, and it'll be a real image. So a medium telephoto has a focal range of 80 to 135mm. It's nearly used for portrait photographing, fixed lens at the length, produced aisle framing for head and shoulder shots. A telephoto, it has a focal length between 135 to 300mm, used for sports and wildlife photographing. Their function is to bring distant objects closer, nearby objects to appear similar to the same size compared to a faraway object, even if the closer object would actually appear larger in person. So there's specialized lens. There are many specialized lenses, but the three most common type of specialized lens are super telephoto, macro, and fisheye. A super telephoto has a focal length of 300 millimeter or more. It's used for dictating sports and wildlife photographing. Macro has it focuses closer to the object than natural lenses. It offers 1:1 ratio, used for still life photographing of small object. And the last one is a fisheye, and it gives a distorted view of the subject's matter. Center of the image is magnified, object diminished in size in all directions around it.
So the application. Here I'll be talking about how cameras have aided our society, how they have assisted, and how they have hindered our society. So first of all, without cameras, we would have no movies and no pictures, so we won't be able to capture memorable moments and look back at them in the future. And without cameras, there will be no paper slide video because we won't have anything to record with. So how cameras have assisted our society. Cameras have made life easier because instead of drawing or painting images, now we can take accurate pictures. It's easier to portray and show ideas because, for example, a teacher, if a student doesn't understand, it'll be easier for the students to learn if they see an actual diagram of the topic. How cameras have aided our society. Cameras have provided photographic evidence that are way more accurate than eyewitness reports. Cameras have also provided us with entertainment and news that we can watch. How the camera hinders our society. Cameras can also have negative impacts. Cameras depict violence by being used to create inappropriate movies and films. This can result in an increase in crime rates, and cameras can be used to mislead other people. As you can see from this image, it's making it seem like the person that's actually killing is being the one that's being killed, and it's basically misleading the people. And the message here is that the TV only shows you what they want. So this is our bibliography. The end.